Hello, hi, how are we? And welcome back to the Chaotic Aquarius podcast. I am your host, Hannah Inglis. And I am hoping, if all goes well, fingers, toes, everything crossed, you can see me, maybe on YouTube. Don't know how the Spotify is going to go, but I actually forget that I have a YouTube channel and the podcasts, the audio uploads automatically. But I'm going to see if this video will upload. If not, I'll have clips for the Instagram and TikTok. Yes, I am recording it on my Mac laptop because who actually cares? Why does everything have to be high def? Great quality. Obviously, you want it to sound well and stuff, but why does everything need to be a big setup and the cameras and the lights? And I think I got really bogged down recently of not having a space to set up as a studio for a podcast area and the right lighting and the right camera, and I had obviously had the mic and stuff. You do get brainwashed into thinking you need to have all of these high definition thing, these things that cost thousands and thousands of euro to be successful. Obviously, yes, it looks well and it's all clickbait, and if it looks well, people are going to click into it. But a lot of the times, I don't know about you, I'll see snippets of podcasts, and just because that snippet, that 30-second snippet, I've watched it, very rarely I will actually go and watch and listen to the full podcast. Do you know what I mean? Just because you've put all this time and effort behind something, very rarely that's what does well. And it got me thinking, I do some of my best realizations and therapy sessions with myself in my car. And some of my big aha moments or milestones or hurdles or just big events that happened within my life that changed the trajectory of my life or changed something within myself. A lot of that usually happens in my car, like a conversation with a friend via a voice note or from my close friend story, and I'm putting up my little ranting and ravens. 9 out of 10 times has happened in my car. So this is Stella. Previous to this car, I had Coco, the brown Audi, and she was a little Audi A1. And Coco got me through some of the most grueling, traumatic experiences a girl could go through. Like, a girl could go, I haven't, and I'm not just talking about breakups or boy drama. I'm talking about real life-changing family shit, health shit, mental health, everything, work drama, everything happened in Coco. Anything that I was going through, I would get in Coco, I would drive up to Bull Island, I would grab a coffee and happy out, and I'd sit in my car and I would journal, or I would go onto my Finsta, which is actually now my Chaotic Aquarius podcast page, and I would just yap, 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 and I would talk through and the process of what's going on. I hope you can't hear that rain. I'm in my car and it's starting to lash down, and this is actually perfect. This is actually perfect. This is ideal. I also have an iced coffee, which I got free, which I'm going to talk about. And if you are watching and you're like, why does she have Jimmy Savile glasses on? I think they're cute, but they're actually those blue screen protecting glasses, because I doom scroll so much. I'm on my phone and laptop so much, and I do need to wear glasses sometimes when driving. That I probably should be wearing them when I'm on the laptop because of the thing, but I don't have that in my other glasses. So I got these, and they actually have been helping with headaches and stuff because I am prone to an headache. Sorry, that's a segue. And I've just went off on a different path of a conversation. Back to the car stories. I would sit in my car and I have all the videos. So when I do want to talk about certain things that I've gone through or situations that happened, I do have footage to back that up, which is quite iconic. It's like future Hannah knew this podcast was coming before I even knew about the podcast, because I documented so much on that Finsta that I'm still yet to talk about and upload for the podcast. But it's not really coincidence, because everything happens all at once. Time is an illusion. Everything is on the one timeline. We're Hannah in 2019, Hannah now, and Hannah in 2035. We're all just rolling in the circle because it's just infinite. I'm crazy, yes. Continue on what I was saying. Coco, car, Finsta stories. 111 on the clock. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just honestly, I do forget how much I love yapping until I turn this on. I say it every time. I avoid doing it, and then I do it, and I'm like, oh, I love it. I hope they're not pulling in to beside me. No, they're not. Anyway, so yeah, I would sit in my car and I would yip, yap, yip, yap, yip, yap, and I would dissect what's going on in my life and probably divulge too much information to people that probably didn't deserve to have that much access to my privacy. And I think that's why I don't really do Finces or close friend stories as much. I do talk to my close friends a bit, but not, I don't dissect really what's going on in my life as I did, because evil eye is everywhere. I think when you tell someone too much about you, they can kind of use, I'm not saying my friends are evil eye, but they're everywhere. Like, you can't, like, they're everywhere. They're watching you everywhere. Like, evil eye can be in friends and family without even realising, and it can happen without them realising they're doing it. That's no shade on them, but it's just a fact. Like, I probably have given evil eye to someone without realising it. We're only human. So I now just do it in voice notes to like the girls or to Frankie, or sit and have a cup of tea with my mum and tell her what's going on. And that's kind of me getting it out of my system. But I haven't sat in my car and like recorded me navigating or processing a situation within my life in so long. And I used to do it in Coco in the brown Audi A1 all the time. Like, there was not a week that went by where I wasn't at Bull Island writing in my journal, probably bawling, crying, and then laughing. Every week I would be at that happy hour coffee shop like 3-4 times a week, before work, after work, on the weekends, in between the stints when I wasn't working. I just constantly always just found myself gravitating towards Bull Island to look at the chimneys, to journal, and to just release whatever was on my subconscious at that time. And I haven't really done it in Stella. I've had voice notes with the girls and phone calls and stuff like that. I had conversations in Stella, but I haven't actually sat and had these like therapy sessions and open journal moments like I did in Coco. And I think that's maybe because maybe I'm not meant to have a podcast studio right now, and maybe I'm not meant to have the amazing setup of cameras, lights and everything just yet, because that's so out of reach and out of touch to who I'm talking to. Because who I talk to on this podcast is 9 out of 10 times you know me, or you've met me in passing, or you're a friend of a friend, or maybe you have just stumbled upon my podcast through someone. You probably kind of have an idea of who I am, because that's where this podcast level is at the moment. Like, it's very much, I'm not going to say like girls' bathroom, because I don't really like that analogy of like chatting, but I do feel like it's, you park up your car with your friend, you have your munchies, and you're just sitting there and you're having a therapy session. And that's what I do in my car all the time. So why haven't I been recording my podcast in my car? Why haven't I been just using the laptop? Now, in fairness, my webcam hasn't been recording footage since I started podcasting, where I record and edit and upload via all the platforms, is a server called Riverside. I love it. You have to pay a prescription every month. A subscription every month. And yeah, I am paying out of pocket for it, but at the end of the day, you have to spend money to make it, you know? But I used to think I had to have the studio and the lights and the camera and the action. And yes, that would all be lovely. And I'd love to have a team to help me, but I am a one-man band. So in order to get there, I need to get here first. And I feel like I thought that was really out of reach and really out of touch, where in reality, if I just had started doing to that level of podcasting, I probably wouldn't have felt, I don't think I would have been relatable to people. And I'm probably not going to be at that level just yet. And even when I do get to that level, I still want it to be relatable, and that when you're listening and watching me, that it's like we're just having a FaceTime or a voice note, because that's all this is. This is just an open journal, and that's, whatever I say in this isn't Bible. But I've gone off in a tangent. What was I saying? My car. Yeah, so I feel like Coco was the stepping stone of documenting and navigating through my early 20s and opening up about certain things that were going on in my life. And I have all that documented. I have all that to look back on. And now, since I got Stella this year, I feel like this is like my big girl car, my grown up car. And now I'm navigating my later 20s, my last year in my 20s, going into my 30s next February. And what better way to navigate that than record it for me and you when you're listening? And hopefully, whatever I'm going through, maybe you can relate, or someone can relate to it, or it's just giving you a bit of comfort and you've enjoyed it. So that's kind of where I'm going. I feel like we're coming up to a year of the podcast, and maybe it's going to a different type of path. I don't know. But right now, this feels right. Is there someone behind me? Oh, I'm actually parked up near a golf course thinking it would be quiet here on the seafront. I guess where I am, Bull Island. Because again, it makes sense for me to be at Bull Island doing this. Because this is where me talking in front of my camera started. Many moons ago, I started a Finsta out of nowhere and I called the Finsta Chaotic Aquarius. Why I done that, I don't know. Because at the time, yes, I was an Aquarius, right? But also at the time, I wasn't really into astrology. Like I was into it, but I wasn't into it because I didn't know my birth chart and stuff. This was like prefrontal lobe development. This was like I'd say 2021. It was like in around COVID era I started my Finsta. And yeah, I was like into astrology and I was into the moon. I was into like my moon water and like my crystals. I'm still into all that. Like I have my crystals on me now. And call the chaotic Aquarius hilarious. Why I done that, I don't know. And but again, it all makes sense. It was all to get to this moment. And then in a year's time, I'm probably going to have another aha moment about this podcast, about it's just, do you ever get when like things just start to land and make sense in your brain and you can't keep up with your thoughts to your words? That's kind of how I feel right now. But it just makes sense for me now to do this visually in my car on a webcam. Because again, why does everything have to be the best of the best? Obviously, when you do something, you want it to be your best. You want to put out good in the world. Well, I do anyway. I don't want to just put out half-arse content, like surface level shit. No, I want this to reach the masses and for us all to be better people. Because as I'm navigating who I am, trying to benefit and trying to progress as a better person for me to help other people around me, because the more healed version of me that I am and that I can be will only benefit the people around me. But I do that through vocalizing how I feel on this podcast. And if I can do that and it's relatable and it's more in tune and it's attainable, like this is attainable to anyone. Do you know what I mean? I'm just in my car. There's no frills on this. I don't want this to become something where, and I said it from the start, I wasn't doing this podcast to make loads of money and do all this. Of course, that'd be brilliant. Imagine making money just by talking. That's fantastic. That's what I would love. But that is not my only motive while doing this. I want to do this because I want to actually benefit myself while doing it. And if I can benefit one person while doing it, brilliant. You could actually see where my laptop is sitting through my blue light glasses. You're on the steering wheel. Hilarious. So yeah, I just felt like when I started the podcast, I kept telling myself, no, I don't want it to be visual. And then I was listening to Blind Boy, and I don't know if I mentioned it before on this, that he doesn't do visuals because he's like, this is your 1 hour where you're not doom scrolling. And that really does resonate with me because I am a doom scroller and I am an avid doom scroller. But I also think he is a household name. And whereas I do agree with him in that sense, I do probably need to roll out my content more to get more people to listen. So how I figured out this was even recording when I'd done the podcast with Shads. If you haven't listened to my episode before this with Shadea Blake, please listen to it. It's iconic. She is an amazing girl. Her soul is just chef's kiss. Everything about her. She's funny, she's caring, she's kind, she's empathetic, she's beautiful. She's just an all around amazing, amazing human. And it was when I recorded the podcast with her, I set up my phone to get clips for Instagram and TikTok. And when I went back to record it, the whole video had recorded. And I was like, oh my God, will I post it? Will I post this? And I was like, no, I don't want to do that to her because that would have been my first visual podcast video. And not that she'd care, but I was kind of like, maybe it shouldn't be, you know, of her too. Like let her have some breeding ground. Like she's already up to putting herself out there recording. You don't need to put her on all social platforms an hour of talking. That's a lot for anyone to take in. But and then I was like, oh, there's loads of new podcasts and spaces that you can rent out, like €10 an hour, €20 an hour. And like the more I thought about it, the more I was like, do I rent out a studio space with cameras, lights and everything? And I'm like, Hannah, you would try and take yourself to even just record a podcast sometimes. You keep putting things on a long finger. If you set a standard of it's going to be in a studio and you then drop that standard, you can't go back. All I can go is from up. If I start it in my car, and people enjoy it. It's in my car. We can only keep climbing the ladder. I'm like, right, Hannah, don't bite off more than you can chew. Kind of that's where I'm going as well with this. And it's my car. And my car has gotten me through so much. So I wanted to talk about two more things in this podcast. I'm going to keep this episode, I say short and sweet. I'm now 20 minutes in by the time I edit this down. I wanted to talk about expansion and creation and what we do to keep ourselves at a certain level and how we keep doing it to ourselves and like in terms of self-doubt. And then I also want to talk about how your words have so much power and meaning behind them, i.e. my free coffee today. So firstly, creation and expansion. So there's very few podcasts that I listen to. And the other night I was doing a clear out and I was making up these shoe boxes because I need like more storage. And I was sitting there and I was like, I'd love to just listen to something. And I'd kind of caught up on everything that I had listened to, that I do listen to. So whoever I tolerate had been listened to. And then a girl called Florence Pugh comes up. Is her name Florence Pugh? The Florence Show is her podcast, and she has like the pink hair and stuff. And I think she's moved to LA now. She's from England. Now I do see her Instagram posts a lot, and I've seen her TikTok stuff a lot, but I've never actually listened to any of her episodes. And the latest episode that she put out was something along the lines about how we need to create a safe environment internally in order to expand and to continue to create. She started saying that in order for you to be able to create, you need to have internal safety. And a lot of people talk about external safety and how like your environment is, you're a pinnacle of your environment. I do agree with that. I do think, we are products of our environment, and a lot of things can manifest through our environment. So if you're not in a secure, safe environment that your nervous system can regulate, it can make it really hard to navigate and to progress and to keep pushing forward. Like, girl, I understand. I am a bystander of that because my environment can be sometimes very difficult for me to do what I want to do. But she mentioned that if you're not internally safe as well, like if you don't feel like your safety is within you and that you can't regulate and self-soothe yourself, you're not really going to have you're not going to have space to create. And it hit me because a lot of the time I'll record a podcast, or I'll make content or whatever it might be. And then I'll get to a certain point and like I'll get the satisfaction of people liking it or, enjoying it, listening to it and and then I'll just end up retreating. So instead of like riding that wave that you've started, you've created something, people are liking it, people are engaging. And instead of continuing creating and like continuing expanding, what I'll do is I'll do one thing, I'll take a step forward and create something, and then I'll panic, and then I'll bring like myself 10 steps back, and I'll be like, no, can't. And then I'll start to panic because my nervous system is not regulated. I can't calm down. I don't feel safe. My anxiety then is through the roof, and I get anxious about everything. The imposter syndrome creeps in massively and really heavily for me. And then I'm back to square one. So I feel like what she said, she was like, if you're not secure within yourself, and this kind of goes for all departments of your life, in your job, in like your workplace, in your love life, in your friendships, home relationships, everything. If you're not secure within yourself in anything you do, you're not going to seek that security in anything else. You need to seek it within yourself. And I'm a firm believer in that. Like, in order for you to feel happy and fulfilled, you need to be secure within you. Like me, myself, and I. She mentioned that like when you don't feel safe, you'll end up doing the habits that you do to self-regulate, whatever it might be. She said like, oh, if you binge eat, or if you don't eat, or you don't socialize, or whatever it may be, like that you do to like self-regulate when you feel like you're not safe, you then go back and you fall back into a pattern that you're trying to get yourself out of, and then it's like a vicious cycle. But the episode was good. But what I did take away from the episode was I need to be so secure within me and myself, as well as obviously your environment. Your environment has a lot to play in it, but you can't blame everything on your environment. And I can't keep saying, "Oh, it's because I don't have the podcast space. Oh, it's because I don't have this, or it's because I don't have this space, or it's because of da da da." And I can keep pointing the finger at everything else instead of pointing the finger at me and going, "No, you don't feel safe. You don't feel secure. You don't back yourself. You have self doubt, and imposter syndrome has creeped in." And that happens with everyone and everything in every walk of life. It can so easily happen. And like, it is hard. It is hard to get up every day and give 100% into something, like, especially when you have to go to work and like you work full time, or you have to clock into a job that's not actually bringing you to where you want to be in life, but then you also have to go home and then put hours into your dream. Like, that's really hard. Like, no one actually talks about how hard it is to have to balance it all, and then to still show up for yourself and to still put in the hours in order for you to become what you want to become. Whatever it might be, if you want to become an actress, if you want to become a singer, a DJ, a PT, a cook, whatever it might be, like a fashion designer, you want to create your own clothes, or whatever it might be, you're obviously not just going to drop everything and leave the job that's funding you to be able to do the training or whatever, because you need to get by, you need to make money to get by. When you are working, you do have, like, your stable income in order for you to get to where you want to be. You then don't have any energy to do what you want to do because you've clocked into a job that's probably killing you mentally, physically. It's destroying you. Your soul is just not alive. And then you're expected to then go home and then to like clock in the hours into your passion. And that's really hard to navigate. I'm not saying it's impossible to do, but it is difficult to give 100% when you're also trying to juggle surviving. And I think a big thing nowadays is all of us are in survival mode and all of us are just trying to survive. None of us are actually working to live. We're just living to work. And there's very few of us that can drop everything, not have to work, and just focus on our passions. But not all of us have that income to fall back on, or not all of us have that stability to pack up everything and just go and like pursue this passion. It takes balls to do that. And I'm not saying that's what we need to do, but sometimes you do need to just be like, you do have to take that leap of faith and just completely jump into the unknown of this might work out or it might not. And then when it starts to expand, instead of retracting the work you've done and retreating back to what you know, your safety net, you need to just keep expanding. And it is really difficult because it is a mind game within yourself. It's you versus you, because what you want is on that other side of fear and the unknown. You don't know if it's going to work. You don't know if it's going to be successful, but you have to just try. And as well, we're living in a world, we're living in a society. There is so much in this world for all of us to do what we want to do. But some of us just don't have the courage, the mishnach, the very first Irish word in the podcast, to keep doing it and to just keep trying. And you just have to keep throwing shit at a wall and just hope that something sticks. Whether your passion is, like I said, music, creation, whatever it may be, like if it's fitness, if it's education, whatever it is, whatever you wanted to get that degree, get your degree, girl. Do whatever you want to do, do it. And just keep doing it. Because I tell myself all the time, it's like, what's the point? Like, and I'm my biggest enemy as well sometimes, because the self-doubt really creeps in and like, oh, what's the point? What's the point? I'm like, well, if I could start now or I could start tomorrow, but in 10 years time, I'll have 10 years worth of me doing this. If it fails, it fails. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It could work out. But I'm that crazy that it will. And I'm sure you're that crazy that it will work out for you too. You just need to keep trying and just every day do something that brings you to where you want to be. Like that saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. It wasn't. Absolutely, it was not built in a day. And I find myself using that as an excuse for not trying. And I find myself going, oh, I'll do that tomorrow. No, it's fine. I'll do that tomorrow. Oh, I'll do it next week. Or no, I won't. Because unbeknownst to me, and like I'm oblivious to that I'm even doing it, but my self-doubt is creeping in and my ego is being like, no, you can't do that. Don't do that. Don't bother with that. But yes, Rome wasn't built in a day. That's not to say there wasn't a brick laid every day until it was. So you and I need to lay a brick every day in order to get to where we want to get to. And your goal and my goal could be completely different. Your goal might be buy a house. My goal might be go on that holiday. someone's goal might be have a child. Another person's goal might be get my PT qualification. But no goal is small and no goal is too big. Everyone's goal is personal to them. But that's not to say you can't keep striving towards it and like keep pushing yourself towards it, you know? But that brings me into my next little segment that I wanted to talk about. Because even though we have to lay a brick every day in order for Rome to be built, and Rome is our goal, it's also how we speak to ourselves and it's the mindset in which you do it. I.e., the free coffee that I got today. I seen a TikTok the other day and it was like, it's 27.05 a day that you spend that in like 100 days and you spend 10 grand. And I don't know why that's been stuck in my head. That I'm like, oh my God, if I spend €27 every day, I'm going to spend 10 grand. It's like, we're in this weird phase as well with everything going on in the world that you're like, oh no, because people are finding it hard to get by and we are like, people are struggling. People are struggling, like me and you included, babe. Like we all are mentally, physically, financially, like it's tough out there, right? But that's not to say it's always going to be tough. But you also need to enjoy your life as well. You need to live your life. Where was I going with this tangent? Yes. So I was driving to, do my podcast, la 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 la. And I was like, will I get a coffee? Will I, won't I? Will I get a coffee? Will I, won't I? And I was like, no, you don't need one. You've already had two. And I was like, no, get yourself a coffee, treat yourself and get yourself a little protein ball. Because I was feeling a little bit peckish. So I drove up, parked up, and in my head I was like, will I get this coffee? And I was like, Hannah, get the coffee. You are so financially abundant. You're fine. Like, you're grand. Like, you are abundant. And I was like, no, you are. And I said it with such, what's the word? Not aggression. I said it and I was like, yeah, I am. Like, I really did believe it. I was like, because we are abundant. Get out of the car, go to order my coffee, and it's one of my friends, like a pal that I know from like growing up, works in that coffee shop. But he hasn't been there in the last while. Like hadn't seen him in ages. Comes up to the kiosk and he's like, "Hey, how are you, Hannah?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm good. How are you?" And he's like, "How's the podcast?" I was like, "Yeah, good." And I was like, "How's your career? Like, I thought you would have been finished here. You're gonna take off." And he's like, "Yeah, soon. Like, you won't see me in this coffee shop because I'll have made it." And I'm like, "You are gonna make it," because he's an unbelievable magician. Like, he is the next big thing. Like I said all the time. But he's so nice. And he's like, no, this is on me. And I was like, no, because I'm going to get a protein ball too. And he's like, no, it's on me. And I was like, you've no idea what I have just said to myself prior to getting out of this car. So he done that little good deed. And I was like, right, I need to pass that good deed on to someone, which I will. And I just sat in the car and I was like, having my protein ball and having my coffee before I started recording this podcast. It really is true when you hear people say that your thoughts become things and your words are also spells. Like, your voice has so much power. Your voice is powerful. Your words are powerful. And what you say can manifest into something real. And you're probably listening to me going, you are a lunatic. Yes, I am a lunatic, but I love the lunatic that I am. I don't think we realise how negative we are as humans without even realising it. Because when I was driving down to get that coffee, I gave myself 101 reasons why not to buy that coffee. If I want to be where I am, if I want to be so financially stable and doing well, am I going to lose sleep over a €7 coffee and protein bar? No. But I do understand you also have to be smart, okay? Because that's how the rich stay rich. We know this. But there's give and take on both sides when we're just going about our day-to-day life. Do you know when your subconscious is like going about and like you're not really tuning in to what you're saying and what you're thinking because you're just going about your day-to-day life. You're programmed into the rat race and you're just doing your day-to-day routine that you're conditioned to think you have to do. And you're working and you're eating and you're sleeping and you're surviving and you can slip negative thoughts and it happens. Like, we are only human. But it's when you have that negative thought. So when I was driving to get that coffee, I was like, no, you don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. I stopped and I said, do it. Like, you're so abundant. Like, you are so abundant. I've never deprived myself of anything in this life and I'm not going to start now. And it was rewarded to me. I know you might think, oh yeah, but you knew him, so of course you're getting a free coffee. No, I've been there multiple times and it doesn't happen. It just made me realise how powerful my words actually are and how powerful your words can be if you say things and you wholeheartedly believe it. And I do think a lot of the reason why certain people are successful is because they're that delusional about themselves. They can just like manipulate frequency and energy and they can turn it into a positive thing for themselves. And it's all about frequency. Like the more you think something's going to happen, good or bad, it probably will manifest and it will come into fruition because you're putting so much energy behind that thing. Like, as we know, everything is energy. I've said it before. None of this is real. Time's not real. We're not real. Floating rock in a galaxy, in a meat suit, paying tax, right? None of this is real. So who's to say you can't just say something and get it if you really believe it? So now I'm going to go about my day today and I'm going to say things and I'm going to genuinely believe it because I say things and I do believe it. But then there's both the other side of that coin. You can say a negative thing and really believe it, and you can have more energy of believing that negative thing and you can put more frequency behind that than the positive, and you'll probably end up manifesting the negative quicker than the positive. So you need to be it can be exhausting being that aware as to what you're saying. Like, you have to constantly be clocked in of, did I just say that? No, I don't mean it in that way. And I do find myself sometimes I'll say something negative and I'll say, oh no, universe, I don't mean it in that way, I mean it in this way. And I'll try to correct myself in order to manifest the better back. So on the note of creating an environment where you internally feel safe, and when you start to expand and not stopping yourself from expanding, what coincides with that is how you speak to yourself and how you speak to yourself internally, your inner self, that inner voice in your head that you have, and you're always talking to it, and you're always going back and forth and things, and you're contemplating and you're doubting and you're going over analogies and theories and and you should have said that. No, just, I am great. I am abundant. I am successful. I am going to make it. I'm healthy. I'm wealthy. I'm kind. I'm empathetic. I am so abundant within myself. Everything is going to work out. There is no timeline where it doesn't. In every timeline, every version of me, Hannah, everything's going to work out for me. But also on that note, in order for those things to manifest, you also have to be putting good out there. What he done today, minuscule on the grand scheme of the world, right? To me, that's huge. To him, that's a small act of kindness, and he's going to get good. I genuinely believe that you put good, you get good. But you also don't put good out in order just to receive. You can't manipulate. You can't go, if I give that to them, I'm gonna get this. No, that's manipulation. You pass the kindness on. I do. You have to pass the kindness on. But all of those things that I said in this podcast combined, I need to put into work. I need to put into action. I need to like actually put the work in, put the graft in. I've been saying it a year now on this podcast. For the last year, I've been saying this, but something feels different. The wheels are turning. Something feels different in me. I feel there's a lot of character developments going on behind the scenes, a lot of things going on behind the scenes. And the world is heavy. The world is heavy. I'm not going to ignore what's going on in the world. There is war, there is sadness, there's death, there's hunger, there's children all around this globe that are going through horrible scenarios. But we do have to start trying to be kinder to one another and putting out kindness and doing small acts. And in order for us to get the big things that we really want to manifest, it starts with the little things. It starts with the coffee and the protein ball. Just pay it forward in certain ways. But I'm going to leave it there. I don't know how long this podcast will be after I edit it down because I have went on a few rambles. I also realise I haven't given you an Irish word in the last like 2 or 3 episodes, and I do apologise for that. I actually can't think of one right now that sums up this podcast on the spot. I usually pre-pick a word, and that's the route I kind of go in. Like, if I'm speaking about a certain word, I'm going to talk about that word within the podcast. I didn't do that for this, and I do apologise. To Broner, I will bring an Irish word back because Chirgan Changa is Chirgan Anum. Okay, 26 plus 6 is 32. and I will bring them back in the next episode. There will be a new podcast every second Wednesday. But if I feel like recording and I have the time to record, I'm just going to do it because it's my world. It's my timeline. So yeah, stay tuned. Follow the podcast. Rate the podcast. This will be uploaded to YouTube, the full video. I probably have like 2 subscribers over on YouTube. So if you want to subscribe to that, that'll be great. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye.